Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning back in. Now, that's what I call friends to the end. My good pal Chucky asked me if he could host this episode, but I told him this show is mine. It's not my fault his was canceled.
Fuck you.
Very classy, Chucky. Anyway, here we are with season 2 of the Reaction Shot podcast. I am so happy to be here in this new season with you, the listeners. So much has changed since season 1, and I couldn't be happier. One of the biggest things to make note of is I'm now officially a part of the You Run Podcast Network, a network jam-packed with some amazing creators with a wide range of podcast topics. So, hop on over to the You Run Podcast webpage, that's yourunpodcast.com, and check out all the other amazing talents featured. But there is one in particular that I'd like to point out, and that's Movies for Days. That's movies, number 4, and days, spelled D-A-Y-Z. Let me tell you, this is one hell of a great movie podcast. It's hosted by the super funny, talented, and knowledgeable Newman. Newman, along with some equally charismatic guests, take deep dives into beloved films, both old and new, to further dissect and discuss them. There are even episodes with bigger topics, focusing on entire franchises, themes, and other movie-centric topics. It's your non-pretentious, easy access movie chat podcast. So, go check out Movies for Days. Again, that's movies, number 4, days, D-A-Y-Z. Part of the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcast. Now let's get into season 2, episode 7 of the Reaction Shot podcast, with a POV on Child's Play, 1988. And before we start, I leave you with a quote from the film. Hi, good guys. Boy, have I got news for you. Now you can have your very own good guy doll. That's right. You can have all the adventures we have on TV in your very own home. Good guys say 3 different sentences. We even turn our heads and blink our eyes when you talk to us. Every good guy has a name all on his own, so he can be your very own best friend. So remember to tell mom and dad you want a good guy. Perfect for birthdays or just any old time. Hi everyone, I'm Dave and I love movies. So, welcome to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. In each episode, I'll dive deep into a movie of any genre that holds a special place in my heart. But here's the twist. I bring on a guest who has never seen that movie before, until now. We discuss, dissect, and review from pre to post-production to behind-the-scenes stories and well into its impact on pop culture. Will we agree on everything, or will we have wildly different views? Thanks for hitting play. Let's roll tape and find out. Fade in. Heidi ho! Welcome to an all-new episode of the Reaction Shot podcast. I'm your host Dave, and joining me today is Brittany Cunningham. Brittany, what's going on?
Hello. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to talk about this movie that we watched.
Guys, I have been dying to do this movie simply because it is probably amongst my favorite franchises as a whole. Today we are doing 1988's Child's Play, the, birth of the iconic little Chucky doll. And man, if you guys know me at all, if you follow me on social media, Chucky is my guy. I always post about Chucky, any new film installment, when the TV show was running, all of those things I would always post about. There's just something about this franchise I absolutely love, and when I found out that Brittany has never seen Child's Play, you best believe I sent her a message and said, we are doing this. So with that being said, Brittany, what is your background on 1988's Child's Play?
Well, the fact that it was the year that I was born.
Same.
Yes. Other than that, nothing. Like growing up, I remember it was this creepy little doll that I wanted nothing to do with. Anytime I saw him on screen, I would turn it off so fast, and I would avoid it at all costs, like a lot of horror movies.
Sure.
Because I also had a lot of dolls growing up, so if it could come true, I didn't want it to. So
Absolutely.
avoid at all costs.
I absolutely understand. My history with Child's Play, of course, I did not see this movie in the movie theater when it came out because, as you mentioned, this was the year that we were born. I was born in February. This came out in November. So I don't think that my parents took me to go see this film.
Could you imagine?
No. Ticket for $3, and they're like, look down, and they're like,
and it's
oh,
like, are you sure?
Yeah. Is that person trying to be the size of Chucky? Or...
Yeah, like what's happening here?
But I will say that my history with Child's Play is I don't exactly remember my exact age when I saw it, but I do remember being at the video store, and the horror section was always my favorite. So I'm browsing the horror section, and I see the iconic cover of good old Chucky holding a knife, and I'm like, well, what is this? So of course I rent it, and I watched it, and I loved it. I thought it was creepy. I really did. I thought it was kind of frightening, but I wasn't necessarily scared of it, like nightmare scare. I was just like, yeah, this is creepy. So I really appreciated it for what it was. And Andy was my dude. I was like, this is me. Like, He's
so sweet. Like, there's some stuff that he does, and I'm just like, kid, you need to chill. But like, he's just the cutest little thing.
Yep. No, he really is. Yeah, in my opinion, he captured being a child so very well. Mm-hmm. His emotions, spot on. Like, it totally good. Yeah.
When he's crying in that one scene in the sane asylum or something, I don't know where they took him. I was like, oh, no, help him. help that little boy. He's so sweet. So sweet.
So yeah, Andy was my dude. This kid is so lucky to have such a cool doll. And that's how my mind was working when I was a kid. So Child's Play, and more importantly Child's Play 2, both of them were films that I would constantly take over to my friend's house that were not allowed to watch horror movies.
That's hilarious.
And I would make sure that they were watching it, and I will always remember, I do think it was Child's Play 2, but I do remember taking the VHS over to my friend's house, and it was middle of the day, we're watching it, he is petrified, absolutely petrified, and I'm laughing at him, and his mom comes home, and she was so pissed at me. She turned that shit off so quick, and she said, I vividly remember her saying, you guys, she was trying to make light of it, but she was very mad at me, but didn't want to, like, make it that way. So she was like, we are not watching Chuck the Buck. So I think she was trying to like make it silly, but yeah, I was like, no, she's very mad.
She's not happy.
She's very unhappy. And then
that is too funny.
Yeah, down the road, when Bride of Chucky came out in 1998, I actually received a Child's Play doll, like an actual Chucky doll. It was the Bride of Chucky doll, of course, so he had all the stitches and the scars and the bust open eye. Yeah. And I loved it. He was posable, he talked to you. I mean, I had that sitting up in my closet. I had like one of those open closet doors, so he was just always sitting on top staring at anyone who was in my bedroom. And I loved it. And yeah, I would just randomly make him talk.
And you just saw that all the time, just like going to sleep. And you're like,
all the
Chucky.
Time. Yep.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was like, good night, buddy.
No, I would have died.
You know, people that listen to this podcast and have listened to all these episodes are probably like, man, Dave is wild.
This guy.
There's something wrong with him.
Like, that stuff scared. That would have. My dad bought me a Raggedy Ann doll for my birthday one year, and like that's what
Thanks,
I
Dad.
associate, right? Like I saw it and I was like, oh my god, that's so cute. But like I associate Chucky with a clown. Probably because of his outfit. I don't really know why. But like, yeah, no, I would have never been able to have that just staring at me while I went to sleep. That's scary.
And then of course I would take that doll to all my friends' houses, and I had them for a very long time. But yeah, good old Chucky doll.
Parents are probably like, David, let's leave that in the car. Let's leave that at home.
No, we gotta bring him in.
It's like, no,
guys.
this is my buddy. Like, he goes everywhere with me. I'm so sorry.
For real though. Oh, hold on. I got a little guy wants to say hi.
A little buddy. Oh my, that's horrifying.
Guys, right now I'm holding up a Chucky doll for Brittany.
Like, does it talk?
No, unfortunately.
Okay,
not.
that's good. That's good. I don't know what I would have done if you squeezed it and it said something.
Yeah, we'll just sit like this the whole time. You
Yeah.
can stare at him.
It's a co-host. Your co-host tonight.
My co-host. This little bastard.
He's really scary, but the only good thing about that doll is his eyes don't look real.
Yeah.
Because if his eyes looked real, I'd be like, oh. No.
So even as an adult, I have this doll, and one thing Zach and I love to do is hide the doll throughout the house. So we try to scare one another.
I would enjoy every second of that.
Zach, I'll be honest, I don't really get scared easily. One time, though, I had just gotten out of the shower. The bathroom door was closed, and I went to open up the bathroom door, and I actually have a Chucky mask also. And he had taken... I know. I don't even know what to say. He took the Chucky mask and put it on the top of our sweeper. So when I opened up the door, Chucky's face was right in my face, and I actually got startled.
I know that feeling very well. That happened to me. Similar to you and Zach, my brother and I, whenever we lived together, like, I love scaring people. But whenever we saw it separately, I mentioned that I should have scared him, and then he in turn scared me with his it mask that he put on a lamp in our hallway. So whenever I walked in, I was so focused on the right because I thought he was going to scare me from, like, blindside me, and instead it was right in front of me, and I dropped my food. I dropped to the ground, and I was like, wow.
Iconic.
Touche, kid. Touche.
Yeah. Touche, buddy. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, this was like 5 years ago.
Even better. That's okay. I think it was 5 years ago when Zach scared me too. So
yeah,
we're equal here.
I miss doing that, but it was so funny. I was like, wow, you really.
Yeah.
I was gone for hours, so I can only imagine how long it was there.
Oh man, that's good though. That's dedication.
It was dedication.
Love scaring people. One time, the one I was most proud of with Zach was I knew he had to get ready for work, and I put Chucky in our closet, and I positioned him to where he was hanging, like he was hanging from the actual like rack. So he was in between the clothes, and one of his hands was sticking out, and his head. So it was like he was emerging from the clothes. When Zach opened up the closet door, he just.
I would be dropping to the floor left and right.
It's so good.
For
so
sure.
Good. Well, good. I'm glad that you like to scare people as well. And
Yes,
Chucky's the one thing I like to use to scare people, because I feel like there's someone at some point in their life saw Chucky, whether it be a film, just a video clip, a picture, and I think people just, for at least one moment in their life, had a little bit of fear of Chucky.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, Chucky is amongst the elite of the horror icons for sure.
Absolutely.
Love him or hate him. Love him or hate him, guys.
Love him or hate him. You think about him.
Yeah,
you think about him.
So, Child's Play, as I mentioned, came out in 1988. It is a supernatural horror slasher comedy. I gotta throw that comedy in there because even during the earlier installments, when the focus was primarily the horror, Chucky still had a comedic edge to him because he's just a little asshole. He's not very nice. He has some amazing one-liners, and they get even better as the series progresses. Every time I do watch Child's Play, I always forget how not how much of a main character Chucky isn't compared to a lot of the other films. It takes almost 45 minutes before Chucky even fully emerges into turning into his moving doll and him talking and being expressive. With the other films, of course, he takes front and center, and he's just as much of a main character as everyone else in the film. So, the story is by Don Mancini, and the script was written by Don Mancini, John Lafia, and Tom Holland, and the film was directed by Tom Holland as well. The film was released on November 9th, 1988, and was filmed on an estimated budget of $9 million. For its opening weekend, it earned $6.6 million.
Wow. So
almost
a little deficit.
Yeah. Almost made its budget back just opening weekend, and back in the 80s, that was definitely something to be proud of. That's a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
The gross ended up at $33.25 million in the United States and Canada, and its worldwide gross ended at $44.2 million.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Pretty successful film for a horror film about a doll that comes to life.
Yeah.
The film doesn't have a very large cast, but it has a very good cast, if that makes sense. I think the people
memorable
yes
actors who are in this film for sure.
Yeah. Leading the film, we have Catherine Hicks as Karen Barkley. We have Chris Sarandon as Mike Norris. We have Alex Vincent as Andy Barkley. We have Dinah Manoff as Maggie Peterson. We have Tommy Swerdlow as Jack Santos. And of course, we have Brad Dourif as Charles Lee Ray and the voice of Chucky. Man, Brad is iconic.
He's wild. Truly.
His voice acting, the expressions that he has when he speaks is insane to me. And I just love it. I love it so much.
I agree. Because it's very, animated, but at the same time, that is a full-blown adult. Not fucking around.
Not fucking around at all. Not at all. We have a great cast. We have a moderately successful film on our hands. Now we want to get into the critic reviews. So on Rotten Tomatoes, we are critically at a 74%. The user rating, we're at a 65%. Over on Metacritic, we have a 58 out of 100 with critics, and we have a 7.3 out of 10 with users. On Letterboxd, we're at a 3.3 out of 5, and on Internet Movie Database, we're at a 6.7 out of 10. So, Brittany, with those being said, what is your reaction to Child's Play? What are we giving it on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, the movie is what it is. I appreciate how it's structured because you can tell, how much it evolved. Because side note, I watched the TV show, or I've watched the TV show Chucky, so, I know that version of Chucky, which I absolutely love the show. I think it's hilarious and just amazing. So good. But, so I can see where it all comes from, but this movie itself, I would probably give it, a 6.5. So, in between the critics and the viewers themselves. Awesome.
Yeah. That number's pretty good. I thought you were going to shoot a little lower, so I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's not a bad film. It kind of just is. It wouldn't be the first horror movie that I would put on if somebody was like, let's watch something scary. Wouldn't be my first choice. Sure. That's fair. But if it was on at a Halloween party or somebody was like, let's watch Chucky, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Sure. If somebody said, let's watch The Hills Have Eyes, I'd be like, oh, I have to go home.
See you later. I'm out.
Yeah, this isn't for me. I'm not trying to be scared like that. But yeah.
Sure. No, that's fair. 6.5 out of 10 is a very fair rating. I give it a 9 out of 10.
I could see that.
So I, of course, really love it. I do have some issues with the pacing, and I actually wish the film was a little bit longer.
See, I kind of like the length that it was.
Sure, and that's fair too, because I like what you said, how the movie just kind of is. I think the film as a whole, I even mentioned to you prior to this episode that just like Scream 1 and 2, Scream's a great film standalone, but there's something about watching Scream and Scream 2 together that just makes it feel more complete. I kind of feel the same way about Child's Play and Child's Play 2. Child's Play 1 obviously is an introduction to Charles Lee Ray and the Chucky doll itself.
Yes.
But then Child's Play 2 just kind of builds up the lore, gives you a little bit more character development, kind of builds on the world a little bit more. And where that's true with a lot of films, I just feel like the tone altogether makes a more complete film and a more complete story to kind of really get a full idea of what everything's about, if that makes sense.
It does. Well, because if, say, they never made a second film, it would just be how it ended. And I feel like it ended like a to be continued. It was kind of like how the length of it, it's 2 episodes, like, or a very long HBO original TV show.
Yeah.
So I 1000% understand why you would want to watch 1 and 2 together, which I did today. And like, I get it. I get it. But at the same time, it was just kind of like, oh, well, all right. Okay.
Well, yeah, so the franchise goes on to really build on the story of Chucky, especially with the television show. We get a lot more background. This franchise is definitely something to talk about because there are a lot of different directions that it goes, and even the things that don't work out the most, in my opinion, still works. I think that's what makes Chucky so successful. And with the cancellation of the TV show, I do think, I'm pretty positive that we're going to be getting another film and that the entire cast of the television show will be coming back.
That would be really cool, and I would absolutely go see that in theaters.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
For sure. I really like that cast.
Yeah, there was a great cast. I think everyone does such a good job, and I was upset that the TV show got canceled because Chucky is definitely a franchise that can just keep going, because obviously it's a supernatural centered story with the voodoo and going into different dolls and objects. So there's a lot of fun things you can do with it, and I don't know, I just enjoy it. And as long as Brad's willing to put his voice out there, just keep fucking making them, guys. Like,
agreed.
People are gonna show up for it. We're not gonna get Marvel like numbers at the box office, but I promise you people will be there. So,
and you don't even need Marvel like numbers for this type of movie or franchise, because like it is so good and it holds up to itself, I feel. Even though I really didn't grow up with it. Like, I've always known of it. Sure. But I just watched like the show originally maybe last year, and I saw like Bride of Chucky and The Seed of Chucky when I was younger, just to watch it, and I was like, oh, this is funny. Yeah. But I never wanted to watch like the first one because I was like, I feel like that first one's not funny. But it actually was, and it was like kind of predictable, but what horror movie isn't? Like, you can tell sometimes in films or movies like where it's going or who's about to like get it. Like Maggie, whenever she picked up the doll by the arm crazy, I said, oh, she's done.
Maggie. I love Maggie, man. She
popped on screen. I said, is that Marty from Grease?
Yep.
And then I looked it up and I was like, oh my god, it is.
Hey, you want to know something funny? I had seen Child's Play millions of times. Obviously, growing up, I told you I showed it to so many people. Yeah. And I never recognized that until probably like 10 years ago.
That's funny. Immediately I recognized, because I like heard her voice and I was like, she looks familiar. And then she had that line whenever her and Karen are trying to get the doll from that guy in the alley, and she says the thing about the boyfriends. I was like, I wonder if that was like an homage type thing to Grease, because she was the girl with all the boys. And I was like, that's cute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She does such a good job. I mean, I think she's a very memorable character for having such little screen time because she has like this charisma to her, and I think her and Catherine Hicks worked very well off of one another.
Agreed.
So I really enjoyed that.
Her death was dramatic, though. Like, that was...
the stumbling backward.
The stumbling backward. She might as well, like, rolled on the floor and then went out the window. Like,
For real, though?
It was
For real.
wild.
So the really funny thing about casting for this film is Brad Dourif and Chris Sarandon, who plays Detective Mike Norris, are technically adversaries to one another because they actually were competing for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor back in 1975.
Oh, like, what were the movies?
So Brad Dourif was nominated for the film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
And Chris Sarandon was nominated for his supporting role in Dog Day Afternoon, which I've never seen, but I think it's funny.
I've never seen either.
Yeah, oh, really? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is fantastic, and Brad does such a good job. You have to watch it.
I will. I've heard, isn't that the one that's, like, just, like, psychologically crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And everybody's like, it's a movie. And I'm like,
it's a movie. It's a movie. The performances are incredible. So to hear that the two of them are nominated against one another in the same category, and then less than 10 years later, 10 years later, they were around the time like auditioning for this film. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's wild.
Of course, Brad's coming for him in this one. Fuck with me.
He sure is. Which Detective Mike Norris, that was too much. He was too much.
Gotta love him.
He needed to think more on his toes.
Yes, I agree. He definitely hesitated way too much with
everything.
Some decisions that would have made things a little better.
Yeah, like at one point I was like, "Is Karen the detective now?" Like, she's gonna find her son and defeat this little doll real quick.
Yeah, she was on it way quicker than he was. Mm-hmm. So Don Mancini is the creator of the Child's Play franchise in terms of he wrote a script and he was passing it around Hollywood. Everyone was turning him down. The first draft of the script was completed in the summer of 1985 and referenced Chucky as Buddy, who came to life after mixing blood with Andy and killing those that were against Andy, such as bullies, etc.
Yeah.
So in the original idea, it was kind of like Chucky was playing off of Andy's personality and was kind of the stronger version of him. Mm-hmm. There was no voodoo, nothing like that. So finally, the script fell into studio's hands, and they decided that they wanted to change some stuff up. So what they did was they hired another writer. His name is John Lafia, and John Lafia took Don Mancini's script and made some changes. With those changes, more people started paying attention, and eventually Tom Holland, who was the director of Fright Night, caught wind of the film, grabbed a hold of the script and said, "I really do have something here." So essentially, Don Mancini's original script is about 50% present in the first film. And between the other two guys, they've kind of built up different ideas. One of the major things that Don Mancini says was changed is the voodoo aspect. The voodoo aspect was not there at all. It was not a serial killer. So when they brought all that stuff in, of course, Don Mancini had to accept it for what it is because, he's selling his script. They're going to make this into a movie. He's still a part of it. So unfortunately, it is what it is. At first, he was very hesitant about all the voodoo stuff. He didn't like it. He thought it was super cheesy. But again, had to go with it. It wasn't until later in the franchise that Don Mancini was like, you know what, fuck it, this voodoo stuff really works, and he starts going crazy with it, especially getting into the later films and then the television show. So the lore of the voodoo does get bigger, and Chucky starts to be able to do some crazy cool things as the series moves on. But it's funny that Don Mancini really hated it at first, but in a weird way, it all worked out really well, and here we are at 37 years later, and we're still going strong.
Yeah, it's insane. Crazy. But you could also see, like, little bits and pieces of that, like how you said Chucky was kind of Andy's, we'll call him his inner child. Because at one point in the movie where he's trying to get Chucky to talk because everybody thinks he's crazy, poor kid, he's like, no, I swear, like, why would I know this random man's name?
Yeah.
Tell me that, but whatever. So he's shaking him. He's like, you talk, Chucky. You talk right now. So clearly he's like, I got a little darkness in me. I can wrestle a doll if I got to. So I can see that at least they kept like that piece in him. Because otherwise, Andy is just this innocent kid who's getting terrorized by a doll that he desperately wanted for his birthday.
Yeah, no, for real though.
Desperately. Poor kid.
Be careful what you wish for your birthday, kids.
Honestly. And also, Mom putting... We'll talk about it once we get there. But, yeah.
So going even deeper into Mancini's original script, essentially the doll Buddy manifested Andy's loneliness and isolation from his overworked mother and his completely absent father. It was more of a psychological horror film, I guess you would say. So many scenes that happened later in the sequels, such as Andy's teacher's death and the climax set in the toy factory in Child's Play 2, those were all original ideas in the original version of the script. So obviously, as the series got further in, he kind of took those ideas and incorporated them in, because Don Mancini, he's a part of this entire franchise. He goes all the way through the whole thing, and as each film and the television series, he gets more and more control of it, and it is completely his baby, exactly the way he wanted it. So, I think that's great. Him. Yeah, good for him. So, there was a lot of good things to come from Child's Play, and, getting back to how people feel about the film, let's share some fun reviews, Brittany. Did you happen to find some absurd reviews online?
I did. I wouldn't say they're absurd. It's kind of like a middle ground type deal. This I found off of Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes. Eric Snyder said he gave it a C-. It is not funny enough to be a comedy, but not scary enough to be a horror either. It scores a lot of points of how like evil he is, and he just is mischievous in itself.
Yeah.
So, like, I get where he's coming from, because so much stuff is so out of pocket. Like, this tiny doll can hit a woman with a hammer and fly her out of the window is crazy. So I get it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that is what some people struggle with the movie, that can't I don't want to say they're not intellectual enough, because that's ignorant. But for some reason their brain can't fully decide what they're supposed to feel. So they have a hard time balancing, like this guy said, he can't figure out if it's a comedy film or a horror film. And in a weird way, I think that's what's brilliant about it. It knows how unserious it is and how unbelievable it is, but it still teeters on that idea of, but like, what if this fucking happened? Does that make sense?
Yes, no. Because for some reason it could.
Yeah, I mean, as kids, it does so well of feeding into that fear, because as I mentioned earlier with the movie, like, even if you haven't seen the film, you know who Chucky is, and you were probably scared of him at some point in time. You were probably scared of one of your toys at some point in time. So it just takes that fear, and again, even though it's not 100% a serious film because of those things, I think it balances it well, and that's why I mentioned that Seed of Chucky is the only film that I struggle a little bit with, because I think they do kind of jump too much into the comedy that it becomes more of a satire. But even with that being said, it's fun, and it scares you, it makes you laugh, and I think the tone of the television does a great job. There were episodes that leaned into the comedic stuff. There were episodes that went into the horror. And
the horror, well. Some of the episodes of that show, I was like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any other reviews to share?
There was another one. It was more so, I think, parents like rating it. They said that nowadays it would be more like PG-13 and not R, because it's not that scary in a sense, but there was too much swearing and too much violence. But it showed a good message. I'm not sure what message they were getting from it, but like, whatever, y'all.
Everybody slide in my DMs and tell me what the good message of Child's Play is, because I would love to know.
And I was like, I don't understand what they mean by that. Like, it's a serial killer and a doll.
Right. And yeah, he tries to take over steal the body and soul of a child.
Yeah, more than once.
More than once.
That's his whole, like, at first he has revenge on the detective and his buddy who left him. But then he's like, Andy, I'm gonna get him because he didn't let me snatch his body. Like, bro.
So crazy.
Makes sense. But do you have any reviews?
I do. I have a couple random ones. They're not very lengthy. But as everyone knows, I get so frustrated when people rate films and put them online and drag the ratings of films down that aren't even actual ratings.
Yeah.
So I'm getting frustrated. Can you tell?
A little bit.
I'm gonna send Chucky to these people.
Right,
I'll hide my doll in your closet. So over at Letterboxd, we have a half star. The review simply states, from Victoria, ugly doll, fuck you.
But wait a minute, that is a line that is said in the movie.
It is. And this woman put this as a review. So with
Which is crazy.
With her stupid half star, she brought the film down.
Yeah, I'd be like, but it sounds like you kind of liked it if you pulled a quote from the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so guys, there is a scene in the film when Chucky is in an elevator and an old woman sees the doll and she goes, ugly doll. And then you hear Chucky go, fuck you.
I thought that was hilarious. I wrote it down.
It's so good.
Because that man, George said, is what I said. George said, Susan, leave that damn doll alone. Like, let's go.
Come on, Susan.
Yeah, like we're not playing with this.
You're right. So, Victoria, we appreciate your knowledge of the quotes from this film, but having a half star on Letterboxd
is crazy.
Really ruins it for us all. So, fuck you.
Fuck you. But also, you paid attention way too hard to know that specific line.
Right.
She liked it. She's lying.
She's lying. Victoria, we know you, girl. I'm gonna check out the rest of your reviews.
I see you.
Okay, this one made me chuckle. This is also a half star from Scoober-Doo. Not Scooby-Doo. Scoober-Doo. I actually think one of the O's is a 0 because they're real trendy. Okay.
Okay.
So, this review. Mother of the Year award goes to Miss Fuck-Ass Bob, and apparently they're letting anyone be a detective if Mr. Mikey couldn't hang from a tiny-ass cut on his leg. Get real and throw the motherfucking doll in a blender. Jesus Christ. Absolutely, this film's infuriating.
Not a blender.
Not
the Bob.
Oh, man.
Not the fuck-ass Bob. That's crazy.
I know, the fuck-ass Bob cracked me up.
First off, I really liked her hair. Second,
she looks good.
Yeah. Second, that doll would never fit in a blender. Chill.
No.
Like, that would be actually the most unrealistic thing that could have happened in that movie.
But also to say, if you haven't seen Child's Play 3,
does that happen?
We got something better than a blender. So.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll watch it. It's on my... I got like a dual feature, so it's 2 and 3.
Perfect.
That I got from the exchange. $10.
Excellent.
Wasn't bad for two movies.
No, not bad at all. Hell yeah.
We love it.
Another one we got 2 out of 10. This person said, this is actually so boring. Like, I'm terrified of horror films, but I don't think this would scare a 1-year-old. Don't waste your time.
Oh, no. It would absolutely scare a child.
100%. That is from Lil Keep. Lil Keep. I promise you.
Keep your opinions to yourself.
Lil Keep. You keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? Man. A child would I would be horrified. Right. Also, how old is Andy in this? Like, I couldn't figure it out because Mom said 1, 2. I said, this kid is 2? What do you mean?
No, he is 6.
Okay.
I think he's celebrating his 6th birthday.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, that doll did not make that kid go into the heart of Chicago at 2 years old. This is I can't handle
Yeah,
this.
no.
Okay,
no,
good.
definitely
Okay.
not 2.
Makes me feel a little better, I guess. That he's 6. Oh.
All right, I have one more. I had to go in the positive, so we have a 10 out of 10. This person, the name goes by Tamparese, so me and Tamparese are probably good friends.
Yeah.
The title of the review is still scary and good, 30 plus years later. They said, "This is how a scary movie should be made. I was 4 years old when the movie came out, and I remember seeing my mother and aunt watch this movie as a young boy, and it terrified me then, and then years later, I watched it again, and it still terrified me. Now, as an adult, it still terrifies me, but I'm not as traumatized anymore. LOL. Chucky was straight brutal in this movie without all that comedy. This was a whodidit type movie because you don't really know if the boy is doing the killing or the doll, but it starts to be obvious the boy isn't doing it at all. Catherine Hicks was great, and Chris Sarandon was great as well, and the little boy that played Andy did a great job for being such a young kid, and of course, Brad Dourif can never be replaced as Chucky. The man is outstanding. Nothing will ever top the first Child's Play movie."
That's fair. That is a fair review.
What a nice guy. Yeah.
Right? Because, yeah.
I read that with so much hype.
He did so well.
Mm-hmm.
It is a whodunit, because you're like, get this man, this detective, to figure out, like, hey, this is actually true. Because you were there from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Whenever that toy store blew up, like, that should have been his first thought.
Nope. So I do want to say something. So I tried really hard to do something special for this episode, and I almost got it to work, and then it fizzled out, but it's okay. I slid into Chris Sarandon's DMs, and his agent actually got back to me and said we might be able to make this work. Let me forward this to him.
Yeah.
So I sent him they provided an email. I sent the email to him, and unfortunately, he has his own podcast too. So unfortunately, he's booked and busy this week. I asked him if we could do it sometime this week, either do a small interview or a small recording. And he said he loves the offer, would love to talk about Child's Play, but unfortunately doesn't have the time as of now. So I think it's cool that the agent got back to me, and I think it's cool that he sent me an email. Kudos to the actors and stuff out there who take the time to even put thought into helping little old me out with my podcast. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. He sent me the email yesterday. I saw his name pop up in my email. I was like, ah! Then I went,
yeah, you're like, yes. And you're like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. But at least,
it's okay.
It's one step closer.
Absolutely. One step closer. And the fact that, he even took time out of his day to even send me an email, I think that's great. So thanks, Chris Sarandon. We were going to talk about your character in this film that everyone seems to shit on all the time. That he doesn't make very good decisions.
Not at all. Like, there's so many times that he could have just been like, you know what? You're right. Let's go check this out.
Yeah.
Because Olivia Benson would have never.
Olivia Benson. That's one of the things you texted me after you watched it. You were like, Olivia Benson would never.
Yeah.
So again, talking about Brad Dourif. Over the years, being such a huge fan of Child's Play and Chucky, when I was a kid, I would always try to impersonate actors and the way they speak. I don't do a very good job. I want to let everyone know this, but I'll try to do a couple lines for you, so you guys can make fun of me. I feel like sometimes, in my mind at least, I'm like, oh, that was so good, and then other times I'm like, you sound so stupid. But just to tell you guys, just to keep my crazy building, for Halloween a couple of years ago, it was right during the first season of Chucky, I bought a Chucky wig, I did my own makeup, I had his shirt, and I went to our friend's Halloween party, and I was not Dave Herman. I stayed in character as Chucky the entire night. I would hide, I would scare people, and I would talk
that
like
would
him.
traumatize me.
Oh, my one friend Wes was like, you better get the fuck away from me. Every time I'd be near him, and he's like, Chucky, I'm gonna punch you. And I'm like, okay.
You're like, oh, just kidding. I'm just gonna do
And
over here.
so every Halloween since then, every time Wes is going to be there, he's like, "You're not bringing that Chucky wig, are you?"
Never.
No,
You're like,
never.
Let me just sneak this in real quick.
I come dressed as one person and then do a costume change halfway through.
I love a good costume change on Halloween.
Gotta love it.
Oh, that would traumatize me even more so if I saw real life just like think.
Yeah, I mean, so I did my own makeup, and I'm not very good with makeup. And like looking at the pictures, I'm like, I didn't really do that good of a job at all. But in the moment, I was proud of it, and I posted it, and I of course tagged the whole cast because I'm again.
You'll have to post it again because I need to see it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jennifer Tilly actually liked it. And then Don Mancini shared it on his TikTok, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening?"
You're like, "Hold on, hey guys."
Yeah, I'm like, "Put me in your film and television show."
Yes,
please.
I love Jennifer Tilly too. She cracks me up.
She's great. She was such a great new shot of a little bit like a new breath air.
We're in the Monday scaries today.
Yeah, guys. We got the breath air and the tomatoes.
Then the tomatoes. We're doing great.
Oh man, we're doing wonderful.
Yes.
So just for fun, let's try to see if I can impersonate Chucky. Give me a line or something.
So he did not say this. Andy said it to his mom, and that's what Chucky said to him. So I kind of want to hear what Chucky would have sounded like. And the line is, "She's a real bitch and she got what she deserved." And that's about Maggie.
You know, Andy, she's a real bitch and she got what she deserved.
No, that's actually good.
Thanks.
No, that's legit. That's legit. If I heard that, I would associate that with Chucky immediately.
Yeah, sleep fucking well tonight, Brittany. It's fucking ridiculous.
Okay, that's crazy. I'm glad you're not dressed up as him because I don't think I would be okay.
One of my favorite lines from Bride of Chucky is when Tiffany and him want to have sex, and she's like, "Do you have a rubber?" And he goes,
"Tiff, I'm made of rubber. Look at me."
I vaguely remember that part. I need to rewatch that movie because that movie actually cracked me up.
Perfect.
No, that's good. And you
Thanks.
and you did that the whole night at a party.
The entire night.
That's impressive.
So annoying. I'm surprised any of them are still my friends.
You're like, I annoyed myself, but
Actually,
I committed to the bit.
Yeah, I come to think of it, I'm not really invited to a lot of their parties anymore.
It's like, is Dave gonna do that thing again? Maybe not this time. Like, we'll invite him next week.
Yeah, let's not invite him.
Not for Halloween. Can't be for Halloween. You show up on a random Tuesday.
Yeah, like,
hey guys, so I didn't do it.
Hi, motherfuckers.
And they would be like, and the door's shut. We're done.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's too funny.
Boy. Really putting myself on blast here. It's fine.
No, that was good. I like that.
Oh, thanks. Well, I guess we should tell everyone what the story of this fucking film is because we haven't even got there yet. We're just having a good time.
That's crazy. I know. Hey, we love a good time because this is actually a really funny and entertaining movie.
Yeah, it really is, guys. And you know what? Brittany mentioned, again, I like what she said, that this movie's kind of just there. It's not a bad thing. This movie's not super long. It doesn't have overly in-depth storylines. It feeds it to you, it gives it to you, and then it's over. And that's okay. And we got the origin of Chucky here, so that's what matters. So
yes.
But of course, with every episode, I have to tell you guys exactly what this film's about. So take a couple minutes, relax.
Perfect.
This is the plot of 1988's Child's Play. In the very early hours of November 9th, 1988, in Chicago, Illinois, Charles Lee Ray, infamously known as the Lakeshore Strangler, is being pursued by Detective Mike Norris. Mike informs his partner, Detective Jack Santos, of Ray's location, prompting Jack to speed off in a patrol car. Meanwhile, a tense shootout between Mike and Charles as the latter attempts to reach a getaway truck driven by his accomplice, Eddie Caputo. Mike manages to shoot Charles in the leg, but the killer stubbornly pushes forward. As Jack arrives on the scene, Eddie abandons Charles, ignoring his desperate pleas for help. Cornered, Charles seeks refuge in a nearby toy store. Mike follows him inside, determined to end the chase. Inside the store, the two engage in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Charles is fatally wounded by Mike's gunfire and, realizing his end is near, vows revenge on both Mike and Eddie. In a last-ditch effort, Charles uses a voodoo ritual to transfer his soul into a good guy doll. Lightning strikes the store, causing a massive explosion that kills Charles and burns the store to the ground. Later that morning, 6-year-old Andy Barkley, proudly sporting his good guy's pajamas, themed after his favorite kids' TV show, wakes up on his birthday. With childlike excitement, he steps out to make breakfast for his widowed mother, Karen. While on the way to serve her some questionable-looking breakfast, Andy's attention is caught by a Good Guys commercial, showcasing a new line of dolls. Bursting with excitement, he rushes into her room with the breakfast and tells her that he wants one for his birthday. However, unable to afford the steep price, she is not able to get him one. After dropping Andy off at school, Karen heads to work where her friend and Andy's babysitter, Maggie, alerts her that there is a peddler with a good guy doll in the alleyway. The two go out to him and negotiate just how much they will pay. After settling, the two return to their stations where Karen finds out she has to also work the night shift. Maggie agrees to watch Andy for the night. On break, Karen gleefully heads home to Andy to bring him the doll. The talking doll announces his name is Chucky, and he and Andy become best friends. That evening at the Barkley house, while Karen is at work, Andy and Chucky are watching television when Maggie rushes Andy to bed. While waiting, Chucky is found by Maggie seated in front of the television watching a news report about Eddie Caputo and the death of Charles Lee Ray. Frustrated, Maggie scolds Andy for placing the doll in front of the television. Andy insists he didn't do it, but Maggie dismisses his claim and sends him right to bed. Later, while Maggie reads a book and Andy sleeps, she hears strange noises coming from inside the apartment, including walking sounds. Startled, she checks on Andy only to find him still asleep. In the kitchen, however, she discovers a pile of flour has spilled all over the floor. As she begins to clean it up, another strange noise catches her attention. She turns and is struck in the face by a toy hammer. Scared, confused, and bleeding from her eye, Maggie stumbles backwards, loses her balance, and falls to her death through the apartment window. Karen returns home to find ambulances and detectives surrounding the scene. Mike Norris is investigating and informs Karen that Maggie has indeed died. Andy, however, claims that Chucky is alive and responsible for the whole thing. However, no one believes him. The next day, Chucky manipulates Andy into visiting Eddie Caputo's hideout. Andy sneaks out of school with Chucky and takes the train across town to Eddie's place. While Andy waits outside, Chucky sneaks in, turns on the gas stove, and hides. When Eddie hears the noise and investigates with his gun drawn, he fires a shot that triggers a gas explosion, killing him and destroying the house. Authorities find Andy nearby and take him to a psychiatric ward for questioning. At home, a confused and frustrated Karen begins talking to the doll, questioning her own sanity. While throwing away the good guy doll box Andy left out, she discovers the batteries were never installed. When she confronts Chucky, he violently comes to life, attacking her before fleeing. Karen seeks help from Detective Norris, who doubts her claims despite the bite mark that Chucky left on her arm. Initially skeptical, Mike becomes a believer after Chucky ambushes him in his car. Chucky flees the scene and Mike pursues him as well. Chucky visits his former voodoo instructor, John Bishop, to learn why his doll body is now becoming human. John reveals that Chucky must transfer his soul into the first person that he revealed himself to, which is Andy, or risk being trapped in that doll forever. Chucky then kills John using a voodoo doll and sets out to find Andy. Andy escapes the psychiatric ward, but Chucky follows him home and knocks him unconscious with a baseball bat in an attempt to steal his soul. Karen and Mike arrive just in time, and after a fierce struggle, they manage to set Chucky on fire. Believing him to be dead, they let their guard down, only for Chucky to reappear, severely burned but still alive. Karen shoots him multiple times, finally hitting him in his heart, the only way to actually kill him. Chucky has died, and the nightmare ends. For now.
For now.
This is the end, friend.
I love when he said that. He's just like, friend? Oh my god, what is that? That's so... That is horrifying. Also, it looks so, like, the fact that it became such a small thing. Whatever. I was going to say, you have another one? It's so big.
Guys, I'm holding up a little figurine here. I'd say it's like a 6-inch figurine of the burnt up Chucky, but the detail in this thing is insane. So they restored all the films in 4K. Yeah, it looks so realistic, and they converted the film into 4K, and they had like a special box set edition that came with this thing, and it was like specifically designed, and I was like, I need to have this.
You're like, I have to have it.
There's nothing else that matters in the world.
And now you do. That is so scary. Wait, can I see it again?
Yeah, let me bring this up for you.
Yeah, that's horrifying. It literally looked like his... even his hair is like matted to his head. There's like little bones. You know, that mouth is the creepiest thing. His teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know we're not talking about the second one, but the second one, whenever his teeth are just...
Yeah.
Like, why would you put those burnt teeth in a new doll? Like, that's bound to like be cursed. Like, something's bad's gonna happen to you.
Yep, 100%.
100%. Crazy.
Yeah, I do think that how he looks when he's all burnt up and shit in the first movie, and he's like walking towards him really slowly. Like, I'm doing it right now. I know you guys can't see me except for Brittany, but she thinks I'm crazy too, so it's fine.
No, I don't. But I mean, I do in a good way. But it's
good. Thanks.
It's scary. Mm-hmm. And again, if I saw this as a kid, I don't know what type of person I would be. Like, dolls would have not been in.
You would turn out like me. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I had a lot of dolls growing up. Like, that I wouldn't have been able to play with any of them.
No, that makes sense. I guess I was never like. I mean, obviously, I wasn't a doll guy, so other than my Chucky doll, I didn't really have those types of things.
I was a Barbie girly who cut off their hair thinking that it would grow back. Oh. Newsflash, it does not. PSA.
Oh, okay. I was curious.
Yeah, no. I learned the hard way. And my mom was like, what are you doing? I was like, it's going to grow back. She goes, that's not how that works.
And that's why Chucky was created. So, you know.
So you know, don't mess with your dolls because they can come for you.
Yep.
Because if my dolls would have somehow came to life, they would have been like, why'd you cut my hair like that?
Can you imagine you waking up one day and there's a bunch of their Barbies around your bed, in bed with you, with all the pieces of their hair in their hands? They're saying, Brittany, what did you do to us?
Horrifying.
I think now I'm going to have nightmares about little Barbie dolls.
Yes.
Oh my God.
They're just like crawling towards you without heads. I mean, they had that in scenes like Toy Story and Toy Soldiers. So like, I get it.
That's true.
They're coming for us.
So they are. So fun fact about Chucky, the Lakeshore Strangler, Mr. Charles Lee Ray, actually his name was developed from actual serial killers. So Chucky's full name, Charles Lee Ray, is derived from the names of notorious killers Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, and James Earl Ray. Crazy.
That's spooky.
It is spooky.
So really it just has an entity of scary.
Yep.
Got you.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. One of the things I really do love about Child's Play, though, specifically speaking this first one, is that the film used various ways to portray Chucky. Obviously, we're not getting some CGI bullshit here. We're getting real animatronic movements. We're getting child actors to act out some of the scenes as well. And it looks pretty cool. I think they did a really good job, especially for 1988, obviously being filmed very early 1988. It had RC animatronics, child actors, and various animatronics and cosmetics were used for every scene throughout the movie. So Chucky's cosmetics transition, if you really watch closely in the film, it transitions from being very doll looking, and as the film goes on and he starts to become more human in the doll, the characteristics of the doll gets a little bit more human looking as well, to the point when Chucky confronts Andy at the very end of the film with the baseball bat and tries to go into Andy's body. He has like a receding hairline. His eyes just look very tired. It's kind of cool. It's kind of crazy, but they do such a good job of portraying that in this first film. And they had so many people that were controlling these animatronics. Multiple people that were controlling the eyeballs moving, his mouth moving. Crazy. Like, just all the expressions. So all of the movements and all the people that took to bring this to life, that's filmmaking. We don't have this stupid CGI shit that looks fake as hell, and they do such a good job. And of course, as the franchise continues on, there are moments when CGI is used, but more specifically with the TV show, they did try to do more animatronics to kind of bring the original thing to life. So for the most part, I'd say 90% of the series is done with animatronics and real child actors. I think that's very important, and I think it makes it more realistic. Chucky walking around, and even if his fluid motion isn't so fluid, it still looks realistic because he is a doll that's walking about.
Yeah, and I feel like he shouldn't even be fluid because, like, maybe eventually as the movie goes on, because, like you said, he becomes more human, and that's what the voodoo guy tells him. Like, the longer you're in that doll, the more human you will become, and you will be that doll. But it's just like, I wonder how many, did you find out how many like dolls they use throughout the film itself? Because I know at one point, whenever like towards the end, wherever she throws him into the fireplace, like you can see, well, at least because I noticed background things, like you can see somebody's hand in the fireplace, and I was like, oh, that's a doll. And then it switches back, like you can see his legs and there's nobody attached to it. So I was like, I wonder how many dolls were actually used throughout this film.
You know, that's a good question. I remember hearing this fact. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say anywhere between 20 and 40 different types of dolls, different types of just like heads. And I know in the toy store scene they had
many. Yeah,
they had so many. Most of those boxes though were just like built. They weren't actual dolls. They were built like their heads and stuff. So like the ones that are like leaning over. Not all of them are fully formed and made dolls. So and then they kept moving the boxes around for different shots, of course. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. To me, guys, that's filmmaking. I think all the crazy thoughts and stuff. Sure. I think it's awesome.
I love it.
Even in a weird way, like how you pointed out, a hand pushing him. In a weird way, though, I kind of like that stuff too, because I'm like, this movie was made. Like these people were doing these things, and if those little things happen, like it is what it is, you know.
I clock that stuff on TV shows all the time, and
I love it.
Like I love it. Because that's what it was. But the only reason why we're really seeing stuff like it now, because TVs are so high tech. And even like shows like One Tree Hill, I listen to their podcast and they talk about how you can see the booms on like a lot of the takes because our TV screens are wider. So they weren't thinking like one day people are going to be able to see us. But so it's just, I noticed that a lot. It just shows everything that's evolved. It's just pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. So I mentioned that I felt like the film should have been a little bit longer. With that being said, I have some notes about the early cut of the film, so things that were filmed that didn't make it. According to the shooting script, Andy's father's name was Bob, and he was killed in a car accident a few months before the events of the film. A deleted scene would eliminate the controversy surrounding the mystery as to how Chucky knew the family history. So during the birthday celebration, Andy would make a tour in his room showing his toys to his new friend. He would also show Chucky a picture of his family and would comment on how much he still misses Bob. Apparently, Chucky tapped on the emotional attachment of the child to his father in order to convince Andy to follow his plans. And then another deleted scene was Andy talking with Karen about the whereabouts of his father. Of course, these scenes never made the final cut. All the deleted scenes are not available, but I think like a little bit more background like that would be cool. I know there's a conversation where Andy talks about how Chucky was sent down, by his dad in heaven. Yeah. So I like that they kind of brought that tidbit up. I mean, that plays with the psyche a little bit as well. And I wish that maybe we would just gotten into that a little bit more. But also, Maggie's death was originally her being electrocuted while taking a bath. Don Mancini altered her death to her getting pushed out of a window instead, as he felt it would be more shocking and cynical. However, of course, the idea of her death was then used in Bride of Chucky for Tiffany being electrocuted in the bathtub.
Oh. Well, at least they got to use it again. But they also electrocuted the doctor.
They did.
but which was so crazy because why are we using shock treatments like that? Like, that's I thought we were helping these children, but you have this whole room. Oh, wild.
Yeah. So, one of the cool behind the scenes making of Maggie's death is Tom Holland talks about how he shot Maggie falling to her death through using a stunt woman to do the main shot, followed by a concrete-filled dummy. So when she hits the car, all the windows explode out because that dummy doll had concrete inside of it. So.
I was wondering how that happened, because you can obviously you see a physical human being falling out of the window, because you see them turn like they're gonna fall on like a mat or whatever, and then all of a sudden it just explodes a van, and I said, "Oh, what?" And then, but you see like a little arm, and I thought I've never seen a dummy that heavy before, but that makes sense. Okay.
Yep. So
cement, got it.
Yeah, effective filmmaking for sure. Throwing cement in a dummy doll and making that explosion, because I mean that body.
And that's very creative.
Yeah, I mean that apartment was up pretty high. I don't remember if they mentioned how high up it was, but
yeah.
I'm definitely thinking probably the 10th floor, right?
Had to have been. It looked like it was. They were at the top, or at least like maybe a floor down.
Yeah, crazy. And then we can get into the idea of going back to the voodoo, and Chucky in all the films pretty much does his little voodoo chant, calling out the Dembala. The voodoo chant derives from New Orleans, the voodoo, all that fun stuff. So there's a possible translation to it, even though it's not perfect French and a mix of some other dialect languages.
Probably,
here.
I think it's like Creole. I think voodoo is Creole and French. Yeah.
Yep. So the actual voodoo that he does, if we loosely translate it, it is, "I call to thee, Damballa, give me the power, I beg of you. Leave me mercy from this mortal coil. Grant me life beyond death. Move my mortal soul into this vessel. I command to thee, Damballa. Move my mortal soul into this vessel. I command to thee, Damballa. I command to thee, Damballa. I command to thee, Damballa." I don't know what I just summoned, but I just did it.
Right? I got a little nervous. Hate it. And then you froze, which creeped me out even
so
more.
I don't even know what's gonna happen.
But also, oh my god, I'm gonna need you to stop bringing that Chucky doll in here. I'm gonna dream about it. I know it. I'm gonna dream about him.
I can't wait. We'll do a follow-up episode about your nightmare.
Right? I'm sure I will have one. Because it's actually playing on my TV right now. He's walking. That's probably a person. And I, like, watching it, well, now I've watched it 4 times. I always wonder, like, okay, is that a machine? Is that a person? Is that a puppet? Is that a machine? And it's interesting to try to figure out. I will say that.
Yeah. So there's an actor, Ed Gale. He was hired to play Chucky for the fire scene at the end of the film. Since he's around 30% taller than the actual doll, the filmmakers then decided to create a living room stage that was 30% bigger, and they actually set him on fire.
Huh. Okay.
Well,
because at first I was like, this person's moving a lot. Like, I don't think this is fake. But also, how did they?
Yep.
Who is that? That makes sense.
Yep.
But that's actually, again, creative. You're like, how can we make this more believable? Perfect. We're just gonna make a giant set.
Yeah, I mean,
how are they gonna know? They're not gonna know. They're literally not. They can't.
Not. Effective filmmaking, guys. Here we are again. I keep talking about the length, and I do have some more notes about the early cut of the film. I do want to talk about the original opening scene. So the original opening scene starts with Mike Norris chasing after Charles Lee Ray. They run to the toy store. I told you about it already. However, there was an extended beginning scene, like a pre-scene to that, and Mike is actually dressed in women's clothing in order to catch Charles Lee Ray. So he was trying to trick him as being a random person on the street, more so a woman. He had a wig on and he had like a big overcoat, and he was standing there when Charles walks by. He would kind of flirt with him a little bit, and then he would then reveal himself to be Mike. Then he starts running after Charles Lee Ray, and when the film starts and you start seeing that chase, you actually see Mike rip something off, and it's part of that clothing, and if you look very closely, you see a little bit of a wig fly off with it as well. So
I'll have to pay attention to that.
I mean, just like a silly little thing, which I think would have worked. I mean, it made it make sense.
I mean, he's a detective. He's undercover. He's a lady strangler, or whatever they call it.
Yep. There's a whole bunch of other like little things too. I mentioned Andy showing Chucky his bedroom, kind of giving him a tour. So Chucky's taking in all the stuff that makes Andy Andy. Andy falls into a ditch in front of Andy Caputo's hideout as it explodes. So we would actually see how Andy survived that explosion, that he wasn't like in front of it.
That part, first off, let me tell you, why did that kid run towards the gunshots? That was quite literally insane.
Yeah.
He said, Chucky, I gotta tinkle real quick. Hold, please. And then he hears gunshots. He goes, must meet my doll. Gotta go. And I wondered how he got away from that explosion that was just like, taking everything out.
Man, and so that explosion, that was actually a real explosion. They actually exploded that house for the film.
And I wish they would have recorded the little boy looking at it. Like, okay, if he's in a ditch, cool, but like at least film him somehow that you can get his reaction of the exploding building. Because it would have made it more believable. We just watched him run across the street. Guy saw him. Saw this little kid in his yard, like, who is that? Can't be person in my house. And then he's right next to the steps, but he didn't get hit by the fire. How?
Yep. It's crazy. So I think that's that little shot they should have just put in the film, because I think those little types of things help, you know.
Yeah, so. That little detail just of him like shocked, just oh no, explosion.
Yeah. For real. There was also a scene where Andy becomes friends with a young girl during his time in the mental hospital. And then later in the film, Chucky tricks that same girl to help him find out exactly where Andy is, and then Andy escapes the mental asylum.
That kid was going through it. Like,
it really was.
Between mom not believing him, the detective not being the detective, the guy at the insane asylum that was gonna drug him when he's like, Chucky's coming to get me.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't get a leg up for anything.
Nope. He really could not.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and in the original version of Don Mancini's script, he actually had it in one of the later drafts of the film, it turned out that Charles Lee Ray was actually going to be Andy's dad. So it was actually going to be his dad that was in the doll. Which... Oh. Yeah. I feel like...
traumatizing.
Yeah. I feel like it could work, but only briefly. I don't think it would have worked as a whole entire franchise.
No. Like, it could have worked for this movie for sure. And then it was like, just kidding. It was never his dad. He just somehow got information on his dad and pretended to be him the whole time.
Yep. So crazy. I think some of those scenes would have worked. I think I would have liked a little bit more in that mental hospital. I hate calling it that because I feel like when I hear mental hospital, I'm thinking Girl Interrupted or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, it kind of has that same vibe. So Andy was obviously, he's a child. He's in this hospital and they're checking him out and trying to figure out if he is the one behind all this or why he thinks his doll is alive. I think a little bit more time spent in there would have been fun, and maybe him interacting with the girl and then us seeing Chucky come in there and terrorizing him a little bit more. It would have gave Chucky a little bit more screen time, I guess, and it would have been a little bit more fun to have some cat and mouse stuff going on in that scene. So.
Yeah. Because the scenes that we do get with him are very intense. For instance, the car scene with Detective Norris, which was absurd, but at the same time, you're like, this doll is going all out. Because when did he get in the car? Was he in the car the whole time that he picked up Karen? And they were like bopping around, or like there's so many questions because he's everywhere again, like Michael Myers, everywhere.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
It always comes back to being everywhere and nowhere all at once.
It always comes back to Michael.
Every time. But yeah.
So Chucky is obviously not a love story, but there is a love story that happened.
What was the love story?
On set, Catherine Hicks and Kevin Yeager, the one who created what Chucky looks like, fell in love, and they got married.
Oh, that's a plot twist.
Isn't that cute?
It is very cute because, I mean, growing up, I knew Catherine Hicks from Seventh Heaven. So, like, to know that she kind of started in horror and her husband is also a horror guru guy, like, that's legit. I dig it.
I think they're still married. So
yeah.
I think that's awesome. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I guess in my head then they're still married. So
we're stuck in the 1988. We'll keep it.
yeah. Let us have this, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Jeez.
Another fun little thing about Kevin Yeager and the Chucky doll is Chucky's eyeballs from the original film to make the eyeballs for the Crypt Keeper for Tales from the Crypt.
You know what? That's so funny because this whole time I was like, this is giving like an episode of Tales of the Crypt. I don't know why. It's just, and that makes more sense because those eyes looked real familiar. I didn't know why, but that show, never watched it, but it would be like, it would come on after something and I'd wake up and he would just be there with his creepy little face and that long straggly white hair.
Yep. And Chucky's eyeballs. Now every time you see it. Chucky's eyeballs. So did Chucky came first? Chucky came first.
And then
yeah. They obviously destroyed the dolls, and the original doll that they made for Chucky, those are the eyeballs that are used for the Crypt Keeper.
So creepy.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. Speaking of television shows, so we had Tales from the Crypt, but we also have The Twilight Zone from 1959. There's an episode about Talkie Tina, and she was this creepy little doll on the show. It was one of the first devil doll characters in a movie or a television show, and it was supposed to be like a spoof of the real-life doll Chatty Cathy. The actress who supplied the voice for Chatty Cathy, her name is June Foray, also supplied the voice for Talkie Tina. Talkie Tina inspired Chucky from the Child's Play franchise, as well as the devil doll from 1975 horror TV classic Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black and Chucky. So kind of like a full circle type of thing here, but I think that's fun. More doll lore here.
Yeah. And Twilight Zone, again, it's another like, oh, this creepy thing could happen, couldn't happen. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Have you ever seen that movie, the Twilight Zone movie? Get off topic real quick.
No, I don't think I've ever watched the movie, to be honest.
You should watch it.
I think I need to.
It's like 5 movies in one. Yeah, it's real weird. All the stories are just like, ugh. I love it though. Okay. I've seen it so many times. I love it.
No, I would love that. I'll definitely have to check it out for sure.
Yes, do it.
And then one more TV connection here. The Good Guys animated sequence in the film that Andy's watching on television. It's produced by the animation company Ruby Spears, who were behind Alvin and the Chipmunks and Mega Man. So that's kind of cool.
It is, and I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Like how it was drawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can absolutely see that. And it was such a cute little show. He was just so excited.
He really was.
He just wanted that damn little doll. And just have a good time.
And
then the damn little doll said, I'm killing everybody.
37 years later, we're still trying to survive.
I know.
And then one last fun tidbit to share with everyone is the original concept of Chucky talking was not always supposed to be Brad Dourif talking as Chucky. It was originally going to be a woman speaking as Chucky. Her name was Jessica Walter. She was actually the actress who played the stalker in Play Misty for Me from 1971, which is a really good little suspense thriller. She had recorded lines as the voice of Chucky, but after listening to it, they couldn't really take it seriously and didn't think it quite worked out. So that's when Brad ended up coming in and using his voice to continue Chucky. So Brad Dourif was only supposed to be Charles Lee Ray, and then once he died, the voice of the doll was going to be played by a woman, so Brad wouldn't even be a part of the franchise anymore.
That would have been a changed trajectory for sure. But why didn't it... Like, it didn't sound believable, or...
Yeah, I think it didn't sound as menacing. I think when you go from hearing Brad Dourif's like distinct voice as Charles Lee Ray, and you go to hearing a woman speak and saying those things, again, I know there's some amazing women out there that could probably provide a phenomenal, crazy ass voice.
Yeah.
But in theory, if you really just think about going from Brad Dourif and then to be that voice, would just kind of be strange in my opinion. Again, I didn't hear it. They heard it. They didn't use it. There's no footage of it out there, as far as I know. But yeah, just the idea of that would be kind of strange to me.
It would be. And now that I'm like thinking about his voice, now I kind of want to rewatch Urban Legend so I can hear him scream like, he's in the backseat.
Oh, yeah.
Because now I can see the doll.
1,000%. Yeah, when you rewatch that scene and you hear him speaking, you can just never hear him not as Chucky anymore. So Brad Dourif is actually retired now. He retired from acting, but he said that he will always do Chucky. So until he can no longer speak, or the unfortunate turn of events that he passes away, he promises that he will always do Chucky if it presents himself. So
that's legit, because he never has to leave his house to be like, send me over the script, I got you, I'll do this real quick.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, he's like, whatever you need. Whatever you need. Well, Brittany, is there anything else you want to talk about with Child's Play? Any fun notes you had that you wanted to speak on?
I had so many notes. Whenever the batteries fell out of the box, I said, the batteries. I lost my shit.
Yeah, that's a fantastic scene. 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like the movie so much, is because, like, not once did I ever think that doll was supposed to have batteries.
Right?
And then whenever that happened, I was like, oh my God. This whole time, nobody thought to check the box, so they're just willy-nilly. Like, we could have solved this. We could have solved it.
Yeah, for real. Absolutely.
But she was just so desperate to make her son happy and get that doll off that man who was going to assault her.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
Yeah, which
and a good thing the detective followed, because he was like, don't go in there. That's a bad part of town. Okay, then take her. Right. Don't let her go by herself in a random taxi.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the two detectives, because it wasn't just the lead, but his partner. Whenever he was like, don't touch the doll, he walks out there like, look at this goofy burnt thing. First off, You would look at a burnt doll in the middle of the hall and say, I should pick this up.
Yeah.
So whenever he got
What an idiot.
snatched by the body,
Yep.
I said he deserved that.
He did. He did deserve that.
So, and sometimes in horror movies, whenever a person does something off the wall, I'm like, no, you deserve to get snatched like that. He was one of them.
Oh, 1000%. Couldn't agree more. What an
He was
idiot.
one of them. But yeah, no, I truly enjoyed this movie.
Awesome.
I thought it was really funny. There were some parts that I'm just like, all right, why did we do that? But that's what filmmaking is. And you do it, you get better, and you change it up. And you see where it has come from. Like, what it is now to how it started. I'll take it.
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna if you're listening, Don Mancini, we're gonna be there for you for every entry you put in this franchise. If we go to outer space, I might cringe a little bit, but I'll still be there.
Yeah. And if it somehow turns into a movie, since the show got canceled, which I'm really upset about,
Same.
because I genuinely enjoyed that show. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, Zach and I were so excited. Like, it's like, oh, it's tonight. There's a new episode tonight, and you're just waiting and waiting. I felt like I was a kid again. Couldn't wait.
Yeah. And I watched it in like a couple weeks because I think I started it obviously years after it actually originally aired. But if they make a movie, I'll be in the theaters. I won't watch it on streaming. I will sit my butt in a seat with my popcorn.
We will pay money. We will pay money for those theater seats, Dawn.
Hell yeah, we will.
All right, so I got one more thing I want to bring up, and that is our wonderful 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, because we can't go an episode in season 2 without doing 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. So, for 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, I chose Chris Sarandon, Mr. Mike Norris himself. And Brittany, what do you have to connect him to good old Kevin Bacon?
I think this is my best one yet. I'm just gonna start there. So we got Chris Sarandon, who was in a movie called Big Stone Gap with Whoopi Goldberg. Oh. And Whoopi Goldberg was in a movie called Destination Anywhere with Kevin Bacon.
Damn, you got that one. That's really good.
I was like, I got it in 2? Yes!
That's awesome. Hell yeah. Good job.
Thank you.
That is your best yet.
Thank you.
I did 3 steps. I had 3 steps.
Okay.
So I have Chris Sarandon, who starred in The Princess Bride with Robin Wright. She was also in Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks was in Apollo 13 with Kevin Bacon.
Ooh, I like those.
But you got Whoopi, though.
I know.
That's
I
good.
do. Thank you.
Whoopi.
I was
Whoopi and
honestly, I was really excited because I was like, first off, I haven't seen the majority of these movies. Like The Princess Bride, I've never seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but not like from start to finish. And I was gonna pick that, but I was like, maybe if I can find a different one. And then,
well, hey, you did good.
Thank you. So did you, because those are good movies.
Well, hey, thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, hell yeah. I really enjoy doing the Kevin Bacon thing, so I'm glad we could connect Chris Sarandon. So,
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Brittany, I really enjoyed talking Child's Play with you. Again, it is one of my favorite franchises, and this is definitely one of my top favorite movies. I don't know if I can exactly give it a number of where it falls on my top favorite movies, but Chucky's definitely there somewhere towards the top. So I appreciate you doing this with me. Again, I struggled to find someone that I wanted to do this episode with, and I thought you were a perfect candidate for it. So thank you for watching it. And
Absolutely.
Of course, we'll do more with the franchise. We'll keep going. We'll hop into Child's Play 2 sometime soon.
Here for it.
So with that being said, I do want to end with a quote from Chucky when he says, "We're friends to the end, remember?" And Andy says, "This is the end, friend." And then lights him on fire.
He sure does.
Sure does.
And he still didn't die. Like, man said shoot him in the heart. It's just like Scream. Whenever they're like shoot him in the head and they shoot them anywhere else but where they said this is how they die.
Yeah, they're like, we got his pinky toe.
Right? Like, we got a leg.
Cool.
Neat, guys. He's still coming at you. He's still coming for you. He can't see you, but somehow he can get you.
All right. 100%. 100%.
Crazy.
Awesome.
I had the best time though talking about this.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Did your rating change at all? Or are we still sitting at a 6.5?
Still a 6.5, but I appreciate where it started for me to like where it's at.
Well, cool. 6.5 is good. I'll take that. I'm proud of the 6.5. Hopefully, as the series continues, we can keep going
Bump it up a
in
little
our
bit.
ratings. Yeah, we never know. So I guess we'll find out when we do Child's Play 2. But awesome. Well, Brittany, have a great night. All you Chucky fanatics, have a great night. Be sure to check out my back catalog of episodes of the Reaction Shot podcast and check out some other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network. You can find it at yourunpodcast.com. And don't just listen to my show, guys. Listen to everybody else's. We got some great stuff on there. And we got some fun collabs coming up across the network. So keep an eye or ear out for that. And Brittany, I will talk with you soon. Absolutely. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too. Bye, guys.
Bye.